US halts weapon shipments to Israel amid Rafah concerns. In a significant move, the United States has decided to halt certain shipments of American weapons to Israel in response to the situation in Rafah. Here are the key developments from recent reports. President Biden's announcement. President Joe Biden stated that he would stop some shipments of American weapons to Israel if Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu orders a major invasion of Rafah. Biden acknowledged the civilian casualties caused by the bombs supplied to Israel and emphasized that he would not provide weapons historically used in dealing with Rafah if an invasion occurs. U.S. response and humanitarian concerns. The U.S. Defense Secretary confirmed the pause of a shipment of high-payload munitions to Israel due to concerns about potential ground operations in Rafah without a clear plan for civilian protection. The United Nations expressed alarm over the dire humanitarian situation in Gaza, highlighting the urgent need for incoming supplies, including fuel, to sustain humanitarian efforts. Other developments in the conflict. Palestinian medical teams discovered a third mass grave inside the Al-Shifa hospital complex, adding to the humanitarian crisis in Gaza. The Kerem Shalom border crossing between southern Gaza and Israel reportedly reopened for humanitarian aid, although there are discrepancies about aid trucks entering the enclave. Ongoing operations and evacuations. Israeli airstrikes and ground operations in Rafah have intensified, leading to civilian casualties and mass evacuations from the city. The largest hospital in eastern Rafah has relocated to a makeshift facility in anticipation of a large-scale Israeli offensive. These recent events underscore the complex dynamics and humanitarian challenges in the conflict between Israel and Gaza, with the U.S. taking a stand to address the situation in Rafah. Israel has initiated the evacuation of Palestinians from parts of Rafah, directing them to move to Mawasi, a designated safe zone along the Gaza coastline. Mawasi, initially declared a humanitarian zone by Israel, is now home to over 450,000 displaced Palestinians, with inadequate facilities to accommodate more arrivals. The United Nations and aid organizations have raised concerns about Mawasi's readiness to shelter the expected influx of evacuees, citing limited access to basic necessities like toilets, running water, and proper sanitation. The situation in Mawasi highlights the challenges faced by Palestinians seeking refuge in the midst of conflict. The overcrowded conditions, scarcity of resources, and inflated prices for essential goods paint a grim picture of the living conditions in the makeshift camp. Despite the efforts to provide aid to new evacuees, the lack of adequate infrastructure in Mawasi raises questions about the viability of relocating Palestinians to this area. The international community, including the United States and Egypt, has expressed concerns about the humanitarian implications of the ongoing conflict in Rafah. The Egyptian Foreign Ministry emphasized the importance of preserving the Rafah crossing as a vital lifeline for the Gaza Strip's population, warning against actions that could jeopardize the lives of Palestinians dependent on aid and supplies through this route. As the situation unfolds, political calculations come into play, with Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu facing pressure from coalition partners to take decisive action in Rafah. The delicate balance between military objectives and humanitarian considerations underscores the complexities of the conflict and the competing interests at stake. Netanyahu's decisions in navigating these challenges will have far-reaching implications for Israel's relations with the international community and the future of the region. In a series of tense confrontations, police dispersed a protest led by pro-Palestinian activists at the University of Amsterdam on Wednesday, marking the second consecutive day of unrest surrounding the conflict in Gaza. Following the police intervention that ended the blockade on university premises, hundreds of demonstrators relocated to a nearby square, extending their protest late into the night while calling for an immediate halt to the ongoing war. Some demonstrators also urged the university to sever its academic ties with Israel. The exact number of injuries sustained during the clashes and the total count of protesters detained by the authorities remain unclear. Meanwhile, at Utrecht University, approximately 45 kilometers south of Amsterdam, students staged an occupation of a university building in solidarity with the protests against Israeli actions in the Gaza Strip amid the conflict with Hamas. Across Europe, student-led demonstrations have been on the rise, mirroring similar movements in American universities where various protest encampments have emerged. The conflict escalated following a surprise attack by Palestinian militant groups on southern Israel, resulting in the loss of 1,200 lives and the capture of around 250 individuals. In response, Israel launched a military campaign that, according to local health officials, has led to the deaths of over 34,700 Palestinians and inflicted severe devastation on the Gaza Strip.